Let's get to know the presenters and some of our staff members. First and foremost, let me introduce myself. I'm Robinson Rodriguez. This is my second year here, and I am a cohort leader. And I'm going to introduce the other cohort leaders as they will also be presenting. First of all, let me introduce Lake.
Hi, everyone. My name is Lake. I'm from Brooklyn, New York, and I'm very excited to be your cohort leader this summer.
All right. Thank you, Lake. And now let me introduce Jensen.
Hey everyone, I'm Jensen. I'm from Columbus, Ohio, and I'm very excited to meet and work with all of you.
And now let's introduce Tandarius.
Hello, everyone. My name is Tandarius. From Georgia, but I'll be working from Johnson City, Tennessee this summer because I go to the University of East Tennessee State here. And it'll be a pleasure to get to work with everyone.
All right. Thank you, Tandarius. And I went over by accident. Let me introduce you now all to Ellie.
Hi everyone, I'm Ellie. I am from Auburn, California, and I'm excited for a great summer with all of you.
And now let me introduce to you Ben.
Hi everyone, my name is Ben Hughes. I'm from Elwood City, Pennsylvania, and I'm looking forward to a great summer.
And finally, Twala.
Hi, everyone. I've met some of you virtually via email, so great to put faces to names. I'm coming from New York, and I can't wait to help support you throughout your summer. Have an amazing summer, everyone.
All right, thank you. And now let's introduce our staff members. First, our program director, Danielle Walker.
Thanks, Robinson. Hi, everyone. I'm Danielle, the VISTA program director here at Up2Us Sports. Super excited for all of you to start this summer.
Finally, let's introduce the assistant national director, Kim.
Hey everyone, I'm Kim. Thanks so much for the past few weeks getting all those applications in and everything there. If you do need, I just want to point out the ASL interpreter. If you can pinpoint him. His name is John, or he should be spotlighted for everyone as well, but just making that note in case you need John. But we're super excited to get started, and we are aware of the 100-person max, and we are coming up with a solution. So just let everyone know if they're messaging you.
Awesome. And over here on the right, you see the agenda. This is what we'll be focusing on today. First and foremost is how does this all connect? Because there are various programs. There's AmeriCorps, there's Up2Us Sports, and then there's your host site. Some of you, Up2Us Sports is your host site, but we're going to explain how all three of these factors connect together. We're going to explain what an SBYD is, a sports-based youth development, which is what you're all in right now, a general program overview and your expectations throughout the summer. And if you have any questions, we'll answer them towards the end. But first, we're going to start with the general structure of the program and how they're all connected. You're all members of AmeriCorps. You are part of Up2Us Sports program, and you are serving at your host site. And we're going to start off speaking specifically about AmeriCorps, as we are all AmeriCorps members. The mission of AmeriCorps is to improve the lives and communities through volunteering. The AmeriCorps program is connected with over 70,000 Americans each year with intensive service to meet community needs. There are three different branches. There's NCCS, which is called National Civilian Community Corps, and that is a 10-month program for people of the ages of 18 through 24 that focuses on areas such as education and disaster relief. Then there's AmeriCorps State and National, which helps meet community needs by direct and indirect service. Finally, there's AmeriCorps VISTA, which addresses issues through capacity building, which is what you will all be doing throughout the summer. And now we will focus on Up2Us Sports. We are the intermediary between AmeriCorps and your host site. We receive a grant from AmeriCorps that helps us have these programs throughout the summer. And our mission is to identify, train, and support coaches to transform the lives of youth, programs, and communities. The Up2Us Sports programs build capacity of sports organizations and programs across the country, empowering them to become a united force for meaningful change. Up2Us Sports provides capacity building services through direct and indirect service, whether you are doing some coaching or office work. And finally, we will be showing off your host site. Your host site is where you'll be working throughout your summer. As you can see here, we have many of your host sites in here. If you see your host site, please comment. If we do not have your host site, we want to apologize. There was only so much space, and we have a lot of host sites. In fact, we have over 60 sites and 196 vistas that we'll be serving throughout this summer. So yeah, there are a lot of you and there are a lot of host sites. Again, I want to explain how they're all connected. You are all AmeriCorps members. You are part of the Up2Us sports program, and you are serving at your host site. I want to thank you all for listening, and I'm going to pass it to Lake, who will speak specifically about the VISTA program. Lake?
Thanks, Robinson. You just talked about how all the programs fit together, but now we will move on to discussing the VISTA program specifically. VISTA is an AmeriCorps program you are in this summer. The 5 buckets of the Summer VISTA program are marketing, development, program operations, community engagement, and coaching. During the summer program, coaching is an option, but during the fall term, there is no direct service option. AmeriCorps VISTA's mission is to engage members in a year or summer of full-time service to strengthen organizations that eliminate or alleviate poverty through the mobilization of community volunteers and resources. VISTA members establish systems, institutionalize knowledge, and develop community relationships to better generate resources, encourage volunteer service at the local level, and empower individuals and communities to lift themselves out of poverty. We are all capacity builders, and we do this in many different ways. The goal of the VISTA program is to engage with the following 3 pillars. First, poverty alleviation. You might ask yourself, how does the work you're doing contribute to the organization's mission to pull people out of poverty for good? Working in the areas such as social media, marketing, and development may seem far removed from direct service to the community, but in reality has a major impact. The work you do helps increase your host site's ability to raise funding, develop the curriculum, and community outreach. The work you do trickles down and helps support those doing direct service. This is a great opportunity to start thinking about how your host site work contributes to alleviating poverty. The other 2 pillars are sustainable solutions, working towards implementing long-lasting resources and creating systems or streamlining existing systems. These resources last beyond your 9 weeks and can continuously help the organization. Finally, community empowerment. Get to know the communities you are working with. If you have an opportunity, go visit your host site programming and get a look at how they empower the community. Now that we've had an opportunity to overview the VISTA program principles, I wanted to give you all an opportunity to reflect on how your tasks and projects help your organization alleviate poverty in the community. I will give an example. The tasks and projects at my organization help alleviate poverty by providing a safe space where children can get physical education they need to live healthy lives. Feel free to unmute and answer or use the chat to share.
Looks like Pat from Kensington in the chat said our VISTA members are, yep, Pat, we're aware. So this could look like if you're doing marketing for the summer, this could be making social media posts and other things to help support getting the word out about your organization. So then you're helping drive your organization mission forward to ensure that the community is getting the needs that they have. We have Nisi from Wrestle Like a Girl saying, building confidence and strength in girls and women to become life leaders.
All right, I'll give everyone a little bit more time. Luna from Beat the Streets New England said Beat the Streets New England provides free snack meals to kids during practice. That's great.
Hello.
Hello.
Okay, so I would like to give our response to that question for East for Site All-Stars. Providing opportunities and exposure to different venues and backgrounds to expand knowledge and worldview.
Awesome. So I see a lot of great responses in the chat as well. Thank you guys for participating. Now that we've talked about the VISTA program, I will now pass it on to Jensen to talk about SBYDs.
All right, thank you, Lake. So now that you know a little bit more about how this is all connected in the capacity building, we're going to transition and talk a little bit more about sport-based youth development, which is also known as SBYD, and speak a little bit more about what that is and why it matters. So really quick, I want to take about 30 seconds for you guys to drop in the chat whether or not you are familiar with the term sport-based youth development or SBYD. So I'm seeing a lot of people say yes, that they are familiar with the term. That's great. We have one no, a couple no's. Looking like it's pretty much even now. Give you about 10 more seconds. Some more yeses. Okay, so for those of you who are familiar with it, we'll go over it and what it is. And then this can be, or for those who aren't familiar, and then this can be a refresher for those of you who are familiar with the term. So at Up2Us Sports, these host sites serve and support communities that are typically overlooked, such as low-income youth, homeless populations, non-English speakers, people with disabilities, LGBTQ+ communities, refugees, women and girls, and immigrants. And these host sites are working towards lifting members of all communities out of poverty. And Up2Us also maintains the goal of helping the youth from all communities and host sites take on challenges and realize what their full potential really is. And that's where sport-based youth development really comes in. So in this program, we just want you to have a general overview of what sport-based youth development is, because this is really the space you're going to be working in this summer. And SBYD really brings youth development and the sports together. And it's not just about the sports. It goes beyond building skills needed in sports. And it differs from organizations such as AAU, where there is an emphasis placed on athletic development. And with SBYD, there is a focus placed on other areas, such as building positive relationships, social and emotional skills, and creating safe spaces. And with SBYD, there really is an intentional use of sport to benefit the growth of youth in all communities. SBYD uses sport as a vehicle of change, and that's what your host sites are doing. One example of this could be the SG United Foundation, who uses sport and physical activity along with mental health and well-being activities, and their mission is to help empower strong girls and help them become more confident and resilient. And now Ellie can tell you a little bit more about what your layers of support here are through Up2Us Sports.
Hi, everyone. So thank you, Jensen, for that overview of sports-based youth development. Now we are going to get into a little bit more about your position and how you are supported as a VISTA for this summer. So you have three different facets of support. One is your host site, one is us here at Up2Us Sports, and the last one is AmeriCorps as a national organization. So all three of them offer support in different ways, and we will get into it. So first you have AmeriCorps. So this number here is the National Service Hotline, and that number is for anything related to your AmeriCorps portal. So if you have questions about your benefits or your portal, then you can call this hotline number, and on their website, they have a live chat option as well. So this is mainly for if you get locked out of your account, you need some help with your tax documents, benefits, service letter, maybe you're not receiving your living allowance or your end of service award. So anything really related to that. And also if an emergency comes up in your personal life and you need to take an emergency leave, then AmeriCorps is the one that needs to approve that as well. So you can reach out to AmeriCorps whenever you want to, but I highly suggest you come to your cohort leader at Up2Us Sports first. A lot of times we might be able to solve a problem that could take AmeriCorps a little bit longer to respond to. So Up2Us Sports is definitely going to be like your first stop for any big questions related to AmeriCorps. And here we have your Up2Us Sports support network via your cohort leader. So everyone giving this presentation today, we are your cohort leaders, and you should have already received probably a couple emails from them. So why don't you all take a look at your screen, find your host site, look at your cohort leader, and in the chat, I would like you all to put who your cohort leader is. Awesome. I love the Team Ellies. Everyone else is cool too, though, don't worry. Cool. Well, so your Up2Us Sports cohort leader, they are here to help you with questions about data tracking and reporting, which we'll get into a little bit later in this presentation. Maybe you have a problem with your host site and you don't feel comfortable going to them about it, you can always come to us. And any other minor things related to AmeriCorps, such as when is your next payday? And your first payday is June 24th, just so you know. So lastly, we have your host site supervisor as your day-to-day support. So you will go to them for anything day-to-day related to your projects, your position, anything you're required to do this summer. They are there to guide you on your tasks, and you should be having regular one-on-one check-ins with your host site supervisor. And if you haven't had one already, maybe reach out and propose that to them. They are really there for you. Anything related to your SAD, your SAD, which is your job description or your service description. So long story short, any day-to-day questions, go to your host site supervisor. All AmeriCorps questions come to your Up2Us cohort leader. And now I will pass it off to Kim.
Hey everyone. So now we're going to switch gears a little bit from talking about Up2Us Sports, AmeriCorps, getting an idea of SBYD and your layers of support. And we're really going to jump into, some of the requirements of the VISTA program, but it's really important to, realize in the summer term, you don't really fit into completely that employee bucket or an intern bucket, but you truly are a service member who is volunteering your time, but also your skills as the resource you're bringing to the organization. So maybe you're not donating money, but you're doing social media posts, you're coaching youth. So that's really important to think about for the next 9 weeks. And so each of you as a member of the VISTA program has what is called a summer assignment description. Each of your host sites was given a summer assignment description or a SAD to complete that is unique to your organization and unique to your position. And so this is a really great tool for you to use this summer when thinking about the exact projects and the exact goals that your organization wants you to potentially accomplish in the next 9 weeks. If you haven't already seen this SAD, this is definitely a document that you want to talk to your host site supervisor about and have a meeting with them and check back in on this document throughout the 9 weeks of service. It's a really great tool and it helps keep you and your supervisor on track about the things that you want to accomplish and the goals for the summer. We will be sending out the SAD. Your cohort leader will send out the SAD after this presentation. So if you're like, I have no idea what that is, I've never heard that before, we will send it to you. And it's a great time during this first week when you're getting oriented to your organization, to the summer term, to set up a time to talk with your host site supervisor about this document. Because it's a really great tool for just knowing the expectations of the summer. So in addition to the SAD, there are some VISTA policies that are set by AmeriCorps. So we've talked about this a few times over the last 2 weeks, but this is a full-time 9-week commitment. So you should be serving about 35 to 40 hours a week. The schedule of those hours is really up to your host site. So really talk to them about the day-to-day, when to be at site, what are your hours, all that comes from your host site. But we just generally require that you're there in some sort of a full-time schedule. Unfortunately, for the summer VISTA program, there isn't any leave. So there aren't vacation days or necessarily sick days. If you do get COVID, there is some emergency leave related to that, or if you do have an emergency of another kind. There is the ability to work with your host site supervisor and request up to 2 days that you would essentially like make up throughout your service term. And so if you do have something that like you have to work with your host site supervisor about, talk with them. But over the next 9 weeks, there shouldn't be like any vacation or long extended breaks of service when you're serving this summer. In addition to that, any kind of absences or breaks you do need to take, you need to talk to your host site supervisor before. It's just not like you don't show up on Friday because like you think you're sick. You need to tell your supervisor like, hey, I'm not feeling well today. I'm sick. I need to make up this time another time. Or if it's one of those things where you need to request a day off, you're actually going to your supervisor, you're talking to them about why you need the day off, and you're coming up with a plan to make up that time on a different day. If you do have a host site that has like summer Fridays or any kind of other holidays that they're gonna celebrate, if they take next Monday off for Juneteenth, the 4th of July, all those types of things, you do receive those types of holidays and summer hours that your host site follows. So speak with your host site supervisor about their holiday schedule for the summer, and any other kind of hours that may be outside of the ordinary during the next 9 weeks. As a summer VISTA, you are able to participate in outside activities like having another job, a part-time job, or attending classes. What's really important here is that your host site supervisor knows about these things and they are approved by your host site supervisor, and those hours aren't taking away from that full-time commitment to service that 35 to 40 hours a week. And it's just making sure you're having those conversations with your host site and everyone's being very transparent and communicating about your schedule for the summer. And AmeriCorps generally, you took their terms and conditions presentation on the VISTA campus. There are some like restrictions around political activities and things like that as you're serving at your host site as a VISTA member. We want to make sure that anything we're posting on social media or participating in is done in a nonpartisan way. But anything you want to do on your own time where you're not representing VISTA or AmeriCorps, you can do any kind of political activities that you would like. But as a service member at your host site, you just have to kind of remain nonpartisan in some of those political activities. If you have any questions about any of that, you can reach out to your cohort leader. But there's also a lot of resources on that VISTA campus where you took those courses and in the VISTA member handbook. And we can make sure you have access to those and know where those things are. And then finally, we want to talk and just briefly review one last time the benefits of being a VISTA member. And so you will receive a living allowance, whether this is through whether you're living at home, you're living on your own, you're living wherever, everyone gets a living allowance. It is given to you in bi-weekly direct deposits. That is why you put your bank information into your My AmeriCorps portal. And that living allowance rate is based on the county that your organization is located in. So you might live in New York City, and you're serving remotely for your site that's in Florida, you'll get the living allowance of the county that is in Florida, no matter where you live. So that's really important to note. If you aren't aware of what it is, we have links here to those counties and the summer living allowance in those counties. Like Ellie said, your first payday will be June 24th. but it will only be for 6 days because you're starting in the middle of a pay cycle. So this first payment will be less than it normally is moving forward. And then each of the remaining pay cycles will be for the full 14 days. And your last paycheck will also end in the middle of a pay cycle. So that will also be for those 7 days for that pay cycle. So I just want to make sure everyone's clear on that. That first payment on June 24th will be a little less than it normally is the rest of the summer. And that's just because you're starting in the middle of a pay cycle. And then each of you chose an end of service benefit when you were doing your onboarding forms. You either selected the education award or the cash stipend. And so for the education award, you'll be able to access that about 10 days after you're officially exited from the program. It'll all be in your My AmeriCorps portal. And then that cash stipend will come as an additional payment in your last living allowance pay from AmeriCorps. So that's when you'll see that cash stipend. And so those are just the general benefits of being in the VISTA program this summer. If you have any questions about that, you can put them in the chat. We'll address them all at the end for any additional questions. So I'm going to pass it off now to Ben to talk about a little bit more about some mandatory programming for the rest of the summer.
All right, everyone, now we're going to go into, like Kim said, some of the mandatory program responsibilities you're going to have as a VISTA this summer. So first off, this is just a very basic schedule overview that Up2Us Sports is providing you guys. There is 4 basic like categories to this. There's orientation that is this week, your data collection that you will do every single week. Then there's check-in calls that will be taken that will take place 3 times during your 9 weeks, and then 2 professional development sessions that I will go into on the next slide. So, like I said, one of the big parts of this summer is going to be your check-in calls with your cohort leader. These are 15 to 30-minute phone call or video chats that you will set up a time with your cohort leader. They will be the weeks of June 21st, July 11th, and August 1st. You receive an email with a form to sign up for a time slot from your cohort leader. And next week will be your first check-in call. Your SAD will be a big part of this check-in call, so please make sure you review that and have knowledge of that coming into your meeting with your cohort leader. Next, it will be there will be 2 professional development sessions held this summer. The first one is 7 words, which is just a very interesting workshop given by the Up2Us Sports that will be taking place on July 6th at 1 Eastern. And then the second one will be a career mapping workshop that I actually got the pleasure to take last Friday. It is very interesting, makes you think a lot about your career and how you want to expand on your ultimate goal of a career. And that will be on July 27th at 1 Eastern. These are both 1-hour sessions and they are mandatory, so please make sure to attend. So now we're going to be going into your data tracker that you will be receiving from your cohort leader. This everyone received this data tracker from your cohort leader, so please make sure to fill this out every week. And if this loads up, I'll go into it and explain a little more about it. So this is every one of you will receive one of these from your cohort leader. It is going to be individualized for you. So just a basic overview of it for right now. The purple sections are the sections that are for you and your host site level. And then the blue sections are the ones all about you and about the stuff you were doing. So let's start with the first section up top, which will be the new volunteers recruited by you and your host site. So this is the number of new people that your host site has come in each week to volunteer. And this will be for every single category. But for example, if you have 2 new volunteers come in in week 1, you will put 2 in the week 1 slot. And then if you have 3 more come in for week 2, you will put 3 in week 2. You will not put 5 if you scroll the whole way to the right, there will be a total section and that will tally everything up for you over there. So don't accumulate it, just add who comes in new each week. The next one is the number of hours served by these recruited volunteers. So let's say those 2 volunteers each serve 3 hours. So you will put 6 in that time slot or in the next slot for the time. And if you have any questions about any of the other things, just hover over it and it will give you more information about each different section. So for the next one, it is the number of community volunteers managed by your host site. So these are people that are volunteering at your host site regularly. So anyone who's always volunteering and always doing these things, put that there, and you will add the new host site volunteers to that number. So let's say you have 3 volunteers who are always volunteering at your host site. You will put 5 in week 1 for that. And it is the same thing for the number of hours served. If those 5 people each serve 2 hours, you will put 10 in that for number of hours served. So now going into the blue categories, which is going to be all about you. So these are the first one is the number of staff or volunteers that you trained. So just put that number in there. Just report the number of volunteers you helped train. If you did anything with them, you don't have to do all the training yourself. Just anything that you did with a volunteer, put that in there. And then the same thing with the hours. Multiply the number of people that you had by the number of hours they served and put that number in the box. So next one, for your funds raised, the funds that you raised, this is the number of cash resources that you brought in. You don't have to do this. This isn't something that you did all yourself. If you helped with a grant, put the whole amount of the grant in there. If you helped bring in money, no matter what if you helped with it in any way, please put that number in. And then the next one is the in-kind resources. This is anything that isn't money that you brought in. Let's say you got a local pizza place to donate pizzas for your lunch one day. Let's say you brought in 10 pizzas and those are $10 each. Put 100 for the dollar amount in that slot. Don't put 10 pizzas. Put the amount that was worth. For the next one, documents that you created or updated to improve. Again, similar to the cash thing. If you did it all yourself or if you helped with it for 5 minutes, put the number of documents that you helped create or improve in there. And now going into the social media content that you manage. So for the total number of current followers, you will put the number of followers that you have for your platforms that you manage combined. If you manage Instagram, Twitter, and Facebook, can put the combined number of followers in there. If you just manage Twitter, just put that number in there. And this one is for week 1, you will put what you have then, and then at the very end, you will put however many followers you have at the end of your 9-week service in that category. So the next one is the number of posts created across platforms. So the number of posts you create, put that number in each week. And then the number of new followers that you gain across each platform. So let's say you get 10 followers in the first week, you put 10 in there. And then for week 2, you gain 5 more new followers. You'll put 5 in week 2. The next one is the number of total engagements across platforms. So this is any likes, shares, comments, anything that you get engaged on your posts. Put that in, put however many you get in week 1, however many you get in week 2, the whole way down the line. And then next for community engagement. Any type of community events that you planned or attended, again, you don't have to completely plan these yourself. Anything that you helped plan, you can put that number in there. And then underneath will be the type of event that you planned or attended. Just select that, select the type that you put in there. You don't have to type anything in as it will pop up for you. And then this next one is for coach engagement, the number of youth coached. Let's say you have 45 kids come to for week 1, you put 45 in there. And then say you get 15 new kids for week 2, you'll put 15 in week 2. And then at the bottom, there's an other tab. So anything else that you want to track, please feel free to add anything that you're doing that you want to add on to this. This is your template, so please do as you wish. And like I said, this is your template. So anything that you do not do, you don't have to fill out. Let's say you don't manage social media for your host site. You don't have to put anything in the social media category because you're not involved in that. So only fill out things that are applicable to you. And please make sure to do that, as this is a very good professional development tool. As if when you're moving on in your life to get bigger jobs, you can show the amount of money you raised, the amount of volunteers you helped out with. So please feel free to do this to your best of your ability, and as it will be a very helpful thing. Then also on your data tracker, that you'll see a network tab. So if you click on that network tab, anyone that you meet that you want to save their contact information, save their organization, please feel free to type their name in, type their title, and then type their contact information. This is just a tool for you to make sure that if you meet someone and you want to save their contact information and make a list of it here, you can just use this to do that. So that is just a quick overview of your data tracker. Again, if you have any questions, please feel free to reach out to your cohort leader as they will answer anything that you need. So now going into the newsletter that you will receive each week. Each one of you will receive an email from your cohort leader on Monday, including the weekly newsletter. This will be sent from your cohort leader and contains updates, reminders, and upcoming events. It will have all the mandatory events for this week. For the week, please read it. And it will also have all the stuff about the optional events that we have, such as affinity groups, table talks, workshop series. So take a read of it. It is a great tool for you to have. And speaking of those optional events, I will now pass it off to Twyla, who will talk about those optional events for you.
Thanks so much, Ben. So now that Ben has highlighted everything that's required from you for your summer, we wanted to also take the time to let you know that there are some optional programming, and we hope that you'll get as engaged as possible using these as well. So one of the first things that we're offering optionally is affinity groups. And basically, this is a group or a series of groups that's going to be held by your cohort leaders. They're an opportunity for each VISTA to network, build community. And again, these are optional, but we strongly encourage you to get involved. The groups that will be offered this summer fall into two categories. So the first one is fitness and healthy eating, and the next is sports and society. So within the fitness and healthy eating section, you'll receive things like fun recipes to try, fun workout routines, just anything, again, to get you a little bit more engaged, as well as to provide additional programming that could just be sort of a fun, informal, relaxed kind of involvement. So be on the lookout for those or information regarding those. Actually, I mentioned about the fitness and healthy eating, but within the sports and society, just note that a lot of times the meetings will involve things like current events, anything supporting that SBYD type of theme. So you'll get articles, anything fun to read, and just get you more knowledge on sports-based youth activities. So again, be on the lookout for those. They're going to be held, we're assuming right now, week 3, week 5, week 7. Nothing has been formalized just yet, but the minute we have information on them, we will share exact dates and times and how to connect. These will all be held virtually, and so look out for those. Feel free to join one or both groups as you like. Again, the interest is open, it's optional, and we strongly encourage you to get involved. The next optional activity, it's called a mini VISTA table talk. And basically these are sort of like 20-minute podcasts or Instagram TV series that we're hoping to create to highlight the works that you're doing at your sites. And so what's different about this optional activity is it's created for the VISTAs by the VISTAs. And so we invite any VISTA to reach on out to us, the cohort leaders, and let us know if you'd like to be involved in this. It's going to be sort of a forum kind of a setting. So we invite 3 to 4 VISTAs each time we do one of our recordings. We'll have a topic of interest, and you'll basically sit down and have a chat about it, share your thoughts, your ideas. And basically, as I mentioned, we will be featuring VISTAs over the course of, we want to make about 3 or 4 of these episodes, and it will be featured throughout the summer. So get in touch with your cohort leaders if you're interested, and look out for information about it. We will share as it comes up. And these are going to be pre-recorded. Everything that we're doing is virtual, and so we are going to be recording them virtually. They are going to go live once recorded on our social media platforms. So again, just look out for that. Past topics included things like the female athletic experience, anything involving inequities in sports. We've talked about the role of sports and things like youth violent prevention. So anything connected to sports, we'd love to just sit down and chat about them, and we'll share the topics, and we hope that you'll reach out and let us know your thoughts on it and be a part of these forums. And the next optional activity is our summer series, and we call it our summer workshop series. And basically, these are optional once again, 30-minute mini workshop series. So Ben talked a lot about the professional development that will be required, but we're also offering a few workshops that are optional, but also a part of that professional development type of topic. And so we hope to feature, again, 3 or 4 of these throughout the summer. You'll be offered an opportunity to do it live as well as on demand. And so after the series is held, we will make sure that we provide information for those who are unable to attend. These are great topics to support your professional development. So we encourage you to come on out. And if you cannot, then definitely check it out once it becomes available for you to watch. Some past topics have been career readiness, financial literacy, anything on grant writing, anything on social media. So again, just to support your professional skills and to help develop your skills even as you move on after the summer. So again, optional, but definitely recommended. And so that's basically it in terms of the optional offerings. But as I mentioned before, more information will follow. We'll be sure to let you know exact dates once those are confirmed, and different information regarding the details of these optional events. And so we're coming down to the end of our session, but we also wanted to make sure that we highlighted some of the things that you're going to be doing for the remainder of this week on into next. We know that many of you are settling into your service, and we just wanted to give you sort of like a to-do list and to make sure that you're checking all the right things off. And so here are some next steps as you get settled this week into next. Make sure that you connect with your cohort leaders. Ben definitely stressed that several times because there are some required things that are needed. So look out for communication from your leaders. If you haven't already received them, go ahead and check your inboxes. They should be there. Get familiar with your cohort leader. You're going to work on signing up for check-in calls. You're going to make sure you're returning to us that teller service form if it applies to you. You're also going to let us know your work email. We definitely want to have your work email on hand. So share that with us. And yeah, make sure that you're connecting with your cohort leaders and getting all your to-dos out of the way this week and next. As you're getting settled, be sure to also connect with your site supervisors. Can't stress that enough. Make sure that you know what's required of you or what's expected of you as you start off your service this week and next week. And then definitely complete for us what we're going to share after this session, and it's called a pre-survey. It's your opportunity to give us feedback on our programming, and so look out for a link to that from your cohort leaders. And finally, oh, I'm sorry, I'm reading one of the questions that just came in. Usually, yes, your cohort leaders are going to be connecting with you via email. Did I read that correctly, Danielle, the question?
Yes, the cohort leaders will send over an email after this with all of the information.
Yes. So great, take the time to connect with them as needed. And finally, as you're getting your service going, we always want to make sure that there's opportunities to connect with each other as well as the team informally outside of like the formal setting. And so we have a group me set up, and we will share information after this. Go on ahead and sign up for that group me. It's a great way to, again, build communities, stay connected, stay in the know. So take some time to use all the resources that we're sharing. They will enrich your summer experience and actually help it to go a lot smoother. Okay, and that's basically it in terms of all the information that we wanted to share with you regarding programming, what's required, and the optional activities. We hope your summer is as supportive as possible. And again, the Up2Us sports team is always here if needed. And so at this time, we're going to go ahead and open up the floor for any questions you may have, any comments that you want to share. Feel free to unmute, share it in the chat, as many have been doing, and we will take your questions now.
Hello.
Hi there.
Hi, my name is Melissa, and I'm with Friends of Baseball located in Portland. And I was just wondering, they had mentioned the data tracking, how we're supposed to fill that out. I haven't received anything like that.
So great question. After this session, we're going to be as comprehensive as possible. We are going to all follow up with you, your VISTA leaders, and you'll receive an email with everything inside. So included in that email will be a link to your data tracker. It will be personalized. It will be yours. You'll have access to it at the end of the session.
Awesome. And then how, and I just fill that out every, I'm sorry, I was listening to what we were supposed to put in there, like,
sure,
but I was not like, I didn't really hear like how often we're supposed to fill it out.
Great question, and not a problem at all. So a lot of this we will repeat. We know it's all new. It's all coming at you quickly. So if you ever have any additional questions after this, definitely send them to us. But a great question, how often? And it really just depends on your comfort, as well as maybe a system that you will work out with your site supervisors. So many people decide to wait till the very end of the week. They get a total idea of how the week went, and it's a great time to just sit down and go through the tracker and include your numbers. You might want to do it with your supervisor. It's fine if you do it solo or with your supervisor. Some people though prefer at the end of each day. You know, the day happened, it might have been hectic. This is a great time to sort of like let it soak in and put your numbers in. It's really up to you. We do prefer having the numbers though at the end of each week, because we do take a look and they're going to be discussed in your calls whenever we do our check-ins. So try to get those in at least at the end of the week. That way it's not carrying over, and that we can have access to it and have a discussion about it when we do meet with you.
Okay, thank you so much.
Mm-hmm. Anyone else? And I may be missing something in the chat. Danielle, please feel free to jump in with a question that we can all just tackle together.
Yeah, of course. There's one question in the chat now, Twyla,
Mm-hmm.
and it's, will the recording be sent after this as well?
Yes. So as I mentioned, we're going to try to be as thorough as possible with making sure that you have everything needed. And so we will share the slides as well as recording. And as I've said before, we're so available. Just reach out to us with any questions you may have. We also know that there were issues with some people getting into the meeting, and we do sincerely apologize. Please let your team members know that, you know, it wasn't intentional in any kind of way. We're so thrilled that there's so many joining the call, but we will make sure the resources that we did share today goes out to everyone. And so nothing will be missed if for any reason someone couldn't get in. Any other questions, thoughts?
Hi, I'm Brianna.
Hi.
And I do have a question that concerns with COVID.
Mm-hmm.
Through my Boys and Girls Club, we are not getting paid by them, and I've already been exposed, so I wasn't able to come in this Monday. Would that be something that I would email somebody from you guys to see if we're getting paid for COVID, or what are your rules on that?
That's a great question. Let's follow up individually with you, because it's so case specific and we're so sorry to hear about that. And make sure that you're also connecting with your site supervisor if you haven't already done so. Express some concerns with them, and we'll also follow up in a team kind of way with you, your supervisor, on the issue. Did that address in any way what you needed?
It did, thank you.
Sure, and I'm taking your name down specifically, but your cohort leader is on this call and we'll be in touch with you for sure on that.
Okay, perfect, thank you.
Mm-hmm. Anyone else?
Hi, Twyla. There was an older question in the chat, but can you just like explain it to everyone in case someone missed it? But do Vistas get any federal holidays?
Yes, so usually anything that's highlighted at your host site, for example, 4th of July is coming up usually, and I don't want to speak for host sites, but usually those holidays are, it's just given to everyone. And so Vistas do or are allowed to take that as well and observe it as well as their host site. And so usually that's given. But again, definitely discuss with your site supervisors. There might be a holiday specific event that you're required to be a part of, but talk with them about it. And if there are any additional concerns, touch base with your cohort leaders, and we can work out something. If you need that time off, we can definitely reach out to your site supervisors and have a group discussion about it and get it resolved as needed. We'll just take a few more seconds for any other questions or concerns. We know the call is big and there are so many of you.
Those are all the questions in the chat right now, Twyla. And then
Okay.
we will be sending out this recording to everyone and anyone who wasn't able to hop on the meeting today.
I'm going to go ahead now and pass things back off to Robinson or maybe even Kim to go ahead and just wrap up for us. And we thank you so much again for your time, everyone. And we hope you enjoy your summer. It's so wonderful to have you. Welcome, welcome.
Yeah, thanks everyone for joining. Super grateful to have you here. We are so sorry about that snafu. We did not know that only 100 people could be in here. We will not have this issue moving forward for the summer, so we will be using a Zoom that allows everyone to join, but all those resources will be sent out afterwards with a comprehensive overview. But thank you so much. Have a great rest of your week, and we'll be talking to you soon.
Thank you. It was nice meeting everyone.